we've moved it away from the corner, from Mike's corner, into the middle of the room.
It's the elephant in the room, if you will, or the peacock in the room.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we're looking at yet another New Mutants release date, Mike.
The amount of, it's just laughable at this point in time. I don't have anything else to say.
I think we're going to predict what next world event will cause this movie to be delayed another 6 months. How will HBO Max's release at the end of this month affect the DC Universe service?
Ooh, big question mark. Big Riddler question mark.
Yeah, not looking good. Not looking good. Sandman, the comic book graphic novel series, gets an audio drama with a big cast and more.
And more. Here we are. I've lost the amount of weeks that were in the quarantine. I think my wife now. I think my wife briefly mentioned that we've been in it for like 60 days, and I was like, that number seems short and long at the same time. Luckily, like we've said before, the podcast does help me remind me when it is Sunday, so this has been a very helpful tool for me. I don't know about you, Chris.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny because literally I think everything locked down on my birthday. Which is March 17th, and now we are on May 17th. So 60 days sounds about right. Yeah. And I'm like, when am I going to get out of this? I mean, I've got the problem with this is when you're trapped in a home that you own, Mike. You're like, I want to change this.
So you start fix this. Let me do this here.
I'm going to start making plans. So and then next week apparently is was it Memorial Day?
Yeah, there's like a a work off holiday, if you will, here in the United States, and it's just gonna kind of feel like every other day.
And I'm like, are we off that day? What does it look like? So I might be tearing up floors and putting down floors in my house next week for on a 3-day week.
You might as well, if you're stuck in your house, you might as well turn it into a palace, right?
Yeah. Well, as you know, Mike, I have been doing lots of work technologically and physically in this house for the past several months. How many times do I send you, hey, here's my new lights a week? Which, if anyone's interested in getting into colored lights, Hugh made me an ambassador, and I can get you like 20% off. So,
oh damn!
Send me a message. I'll hook you up for real, because that stuff, it can get expensive very quickly. But I got to give a shout out to my friend Paul, who I used to work with at Moby, for helping me build, and he really built it. I bought off of him a Plex server this weekend.
Nice.
And for those who don't know what Plex is, it allows me to gather media up and share it across the internet to lots of other people, especially Mike.
It's great because it does this really cool thing where it like encodes the media, so it doesn't matter really what video file you throw at it, because on the fly it's going to convert it into like a very kind of single denominator video file that like kind of any other kind of Plex app can like stream, which is really great, because even just like a few years ago, there was a chance that you could try to open up like a random video file and it's just like, no, we can't play that one. It's just like, what are you talking about? What decade are we in right now? You should be able to play any video file I click on.
Right. Well, yeah. And again, we have MKVs, AVIs, MOVs, MP4s, whatever. And these are all like containers. And those files in those containers can be literally anything encoded in like 30 different ways. And not just the video, but the audio as well. So you could be playing the video like, I don't hear it. Is it broken? Yeah. Well, it's not you. It's the codec. You have to go download something to make it work.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is there Plex apps on consoles like Xbox and PlayStation?
I do stream mine on Xbox, yes, and PlayStation.
And that's actually very necessary, because you might be looking at these consoles that at one point in time were like next gen. I guess now they're about to be replaced, but there's USB ports all over them. So you think to yourself, oh, I'll put a video file on this jump drive, I'll plug it right into my PlayStation, and I'll be up and going and watching this thing in no time. It's just like, nope, the PlayStation doesn't recognize the thumb drive, it doesn't recognize anything inside of it, it doesn't care what video file you just try to give it. So it's kind of nice having like Plex out there to kind of facilitate this nonsense.
And what I will tell you, that's great. It's easy to click and play, and then next thing you know, if it's a TV series, you've gone through, it's like Netflix, it'll play the next thing automatically. But what I tell you, the biggest thing is, I am a very much a Nazi when it comes to media presentation.
A Nazi in the good sense of the term.
Yeah. Not a neo-Nazi, but like I am very, very much a stickler for how my media is organized and presented. And you can just view a list of file names, like season 1, episode 2, right, of whatever you're watching. But how about Avatar: The Last Airbender? Because we'll talk about it here in a second. But you're like, well, I want to know what the show title is. I want to know what it's about. Give me a description. Give me this. Plex uses what's called agents to scrape this media from the internet and give you a pretty image of the episode, a collection of volumes and seasons, and all the information about that episode right in your database. So you don't have to go out and type it all in manually. And that is probably my biggest, like, oh my gosh, this was heaven sent for me.
Yes, Chris has basically turned into Benicio del Toro from Guardians of the Galaxy. He is the collector. He's on the hunt for media. He's going to throw it into his Plex server, and then he's going to put his hands very awkwardly over his mouth and yell, "Magnificent!"
Yes,
that's magnificent. And then he'll kind of clap, but it doesn't really work because he has gloves on, and you can't really hear the sound of clapping with gloves. So that's how I'm imagining Chris right now.
Exactly. And doesn't he have like some sort of weird goatee that's like down
he's kind of got I don't know if you watch the Food Network, but if you're familiar with any of the hosts over there's a chef by the name of Ann Burrell who has like crazy white kind of frizzy hair that kind of looks like the collector as well.
Oh, I was going with more Guy Fieri goatee, but I see what you're talking about.
I think half of the people over at the Food Network have got white frizzy hair.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. So I've been playing with that in that computer, and I am literally in. I don't know if you know this. So when you buy build your own computer, or even if you buy it, you can upgrade the processors through certain models, right? If I upgrade my processor on this, I've got a VR computer in my house, like right there. So I'm very excited for that down the road. Because I asked somebody, I'm like, hey, recommend some PC VR games. You got a PC VR? He's like, yeah, okay. And then the ones he lists off are the same ones we have on PlayStation VR. I'm like, oh. Maybe I'm not missing out as much as I thought I was. So.
Chris is flexing his technical prowess over there. But also I think it's funny that whenever you get around to buying a VR headset, just moments later, Apple might be dropping a VR headset since I think they just bought a VR company. So everyone's getting into the VR space, which was kind of funny because I thought Apple was kind of making the conscious decision to bet on augmented reality instead of virtual reality, but it looks like they're coming around.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think there's benefits to have both built in. I mean, their phones are AR, but we talked about this briefly. Like, what if the phone was the processor for a VR head unit, and you just plug your phone into it, and you're walking around with it in your pocket, and you're not connected to any other cords? It'd be amazing.
Not quite the Gear VR, which is literally putting the phone in front of your face. But
yeah.
Oculus kind of has some cheaper options where all of the components are built into one. But I heard that the only downside of those are that the headsets get slightly a little bit heavier. But I remember I was really watching the tech space with VR when it first came out, just because it's such a cool thing. And there was a lot of people in the early development stage of working on kind of like wireless kind of VR, where you could have your computer doing all the hardware, then it would kind of like beam to your head, if you will, which kind of sounds terrifying if you think about it, because it's like, oh, what if the beam misses and goes right into my brain? But I would imagine that stuff has been polished a little bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna talk about Let's Players on YouTube here in just a moment, but I wish we could see. I'm waiting for some of my favorite Let's Players to play the new Valve. What is it?
Alex.
Half-Life Alex. Yeah, I want to see like a nice playthrough of that game.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the resources to get that thing up and running anytime soon. But you might.
Yeah, I might. I would look. I mean, the headsets are like double what I paid for the computer, which is the dumb part about that, because you gotta have sensors and all other fun stuff for like the room. But like, what's cool is VR's right now. I mean, we're trapped at home. VR is a great way to experience other things.
Yeah, I would be curious if there's any like numbers out there. There's a lot of increased viewership on streaming platforms, and I think even some of that's been published out there. And there've been user growth in games like Fortnite because people are just at home more. But I'd be curious if they're selling more VR headsets during this time.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything's selling. What's Nintendo Switch? They can't keep stock in those anywhere right now. And I don't know if it's Animal Crossing phase or what, but that's big. I did see a thing. I was gonna say Walking Dead came out with a VR game this week, and you actually it's got like a creepy atmosphere, and you have to fight off other like humans, and I thought that was pretty cool. But speaking of statistics they've announced, most people are watching animated shows and movies during quarantine than when they're not, which is really cool because we say, it's hard to sell an animated movie, right? You think, it's for kids. Yeah, but, we get into the Spider-Verse, stuff like that, and honestly, a show I have never watched, Mike, is Avatar: The Last Airbender, and is now available in HD on Netflix.
It's so good.
Yep, I know.
I love everything about the show. Anytime I have a chance to just geek out about it on the show, I'll take that opportunity no matter what. Yeah, it's really great. It's great that it's coming back to Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon is owned by Viacom, which recently just re-merged again with like CBS. So they're still kind of in this weird limbo where they don't necessarily have their own streaming service. And I guess theoretically they could come up with a strategy where they never launch one and they just lease out their media. So we're lucky now where Avatar is able to be just like listed on Netflix as it used to be a while ago before they did this HD re-release. So now that it's back out there in the world, drumming up interest and more support, more people to watch the Avatar: The Last Airbender, which makes sense because I believe in 2022 is when we'll be getting the live action series from the same creators. So this is just all this nice tidal wave to get people watching The Last Airbender again.
I'm not going to bank on any release dates for movies or TV shows going forward. I'm like, probably add a year to that. But yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender, they're doing the live action from the creators of this. From my understanding, it's a 3-series show with 3 books based on Earth, Water, and Fire. And he's an airbender. There's 4 elements in this. Think fifth element, but without the 5th element. Then I was telling Mike the Steelbook version, which looks pretty cool, is on sale again right now for the Blu-rays.
Yeah, it's a little confusing because the Blu-ray release of Avatar: The Last Airbender, I believe, came out last year, if not the year before that. I lose track of time now that we're in the quarantine. And it was great. It was this great collection. And now I believe a Steelbook came out, and I was trying to figure out what the difference was, but I think the Steelbook has just more special features in it. Not saying the one that I own doesn't have special features, but I guess they keep finding more in their archive, and they keep throwing in there and they can sell it as many times as they want. I will buy it a million times over because it's so good. Honestly, I just love the convenience as well. Because this is going to sound so first world problems, but when I bought the Blu-ray the other year, I rewatched the whole thing and it was great. But every time you hit play on the next episode, there's no option to skip the intro, even though I love the intro, but I don't need to see it every single time. And then after you watch like 5 episodes, you got to change the DVDs and put a new DVD in, and then you got to watch the intros all over again. You got to wait for the DVD menu to load before I can finally get to the freaking play screen. So I have to say, like, they have my money, so I'm glad the people over at Avatar: The Last Airbender got a little bit more change out of me because they deserve every penny. But now I'm glad it's on Netflix because I can just like easily binge watch it through their interface.
Right, and I believe, and I might have to correct it, is Korra the next Airbender or whatever she is, the sequel follow-up series, is that on there as well?
I don't think it is. As far as I know, that series hasn't streamed anywhere.
I have Just Watch already pulled up here, so let me pull it up. So keep talking.
You can pull it up. The cool thing is that I like about Korra is, like you just said, the first Avatar is on 3 different seasons, each named after a book. And you would think like, oh, that's weird that they didn't do a 4th season called Air. What I really like about Korra is that's the follow-up series, and season 1 it's called Book Air. So I like how they kept that continuation through the whole thing.
So there are 4 seasons of Korra rather than 3.
But the episodes, I believe, are a little bit shorter, the series orders.
Yeah, they're like 13 episodes is what it looks like. And again, the books are not by the element. The books looks like they're different here. You can stream all 4 of them on Amazon's Nick Hits, which looks to be like
so you need a separate subscription service to get to it.
Yes, a sub. However, you can stream the first 2 seasons across. It looks like it's maybe CBS All Access or just regular the CBS app. But they're only doing 2 seasons.
Yeah, the long story short, Chris, is you need to get around to watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. I had another friend who was a holdout. His name is Ryan, and he finally got around to watching it, and he loved it as well. So I'm sure you'll love it as well, Chris.
I've heard good things, and I'm not holding out, out of spite like some other things I would normally do. It's just when I do, I want to give it its due diligence. I don't want to like watch it and then like cram through it, kind of thing. I want to appreciate it because I know it's very much held up and regarded as a great show. It is also on my Plex server, so it's not like I have a reason, like I don't have Netflix. Well, no, I have it, and I have access to it. I'm just
heads up, everybody. Everything we talk about on today's episode, Chris will bring it back around to his Plex server because there's so much on it. There's so much crossover. It's like 7 degrees of Chris's Plex server.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's all I'm thinking about right now. It's all in my brain. But Avatar: Last Airbender, you can buy it, you can watch it on Netflix. I'll probably get around to it. Something else this week that's very precious to me, Mike, was announced with a remaster. A remaster is a video game that has been taking the original game and given a brand new coat of paint, HD, if you will.
4K, if you will.
4K, if you will. Modern, bringing it up to modern standards. Gameplay still the same. Soundtrack still the same, and these games are Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2.
Yes.
The old school, the arcadey skateboarding game. I remember playing this 2-player. They had the horse mode and the paint mode. Where you go against other people. They've taken it to the new world for $40, which is awesome. You get both games remaster. You don't have to. It's on a full game price. And all the soundtracks there, and if you've never listened to that soundtrack, it is classic. You just turn that on, that's actually already been saved in my Spotify for a long time, several years now, because that soundtrack means so much to me.
Yeah, it's just so iconic because you would just spend hours and hours and hours in that game trying to get the highest score. I love trying to get to the secret areas of the maps. Like, I can get on this roof if I can do like this very impossible to gravity wall ride, and if I do it just right, I can get on top of this and I have this huge drop. And it's like you learn so much about skateboarding, and you knew you could never do it in real life, very much like Guitar Hero, where you know all the lingo but you've never done it before.
It's an arcade version of it, and everyone can get down to it.
Yeah, and I think the really cool thing about this as well is this is kind of in like a full media blitz with Tony Hawk in general, because he has like a documentary coming out about his life, and I think at least a fair portion of the doc is going to be about this kind of video game as well. So I love documentaries about video games in general. I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary. I forget the name of it actually off the top of my head. Oh no, it's called Indie Game the Movie, and it kind of follows the gameplay development of games like Super Meat Boy and these other kind of smaller indie games that kind of made their way during like the Xbox 360 console era. Yeah. But it's really great. It's very motivational. So I'm always 2 thumbs up for any documentary that's going to feature like video games.
Yeah, and this is cool. So what's important to this is do you remember the Mountain Dew tokens in this game, like collecting the Mountain Dew tokens?
Oh, actually, I don't know if I remember that.
So you would like skateboard up, and you're like, I have to get up there and like figure out how to get on top of something and grind to get the tokens. So they had Mountain Dew tokens, I believe, in it. But the second one, if you 100% of the game, do you remember who you unlocked? Spider-Man.
Oh, I was never good enough, I guess.
Yep, you could unlock. There were codes to unlock it earlier on, but there was Spider-Man in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, and they've not shown any of these yet. But I'm like, you got to have the original. Like, if you're gonna have all this, you got to bring Spider-Man back into this.
Oh,
game.
They should do like a full crossover. They should give us like the Hulk. They should add some characters onto it. That'd be so cool.
The full thing. Yeah, I think the developer of this, Activision, weren't they? I think they were in charge of the Spider-Man games back in the '90s, so that's why they had the model already.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So this is coming out September of 2020. I'm very excited, very interested. I think did they have like a wrestler? Like Sergeant Slaughter is like one of the unlockables too. Like
sure, it sounds about right.
But it's gonna be so fun.
I think if I saw the announcement trailer at the end of it, I think at some point in time we'll be able to download a demo of the warehouse, which is like kind of one of the more iconic maps.
Yeah,
so I don't know if you pre-order right now.
If you pre-order it, it's not out now. I've been watching that as well. But like the warehouse is the level. That is the level that everyone's played. Actually, so on my little arcade.
Because if you could get high enough on the vert ramp, you could like grind on the beams in the roof. Oh man!
And there was a Mountain Dew token up there. I swear to God, there was. Or at least maybe you had to spell skate on like the first one, and maybe the second one had the Mountain Dew tokens. Like, do you remember the letters skate? You find
I think you might be right, because I think I have more memories for Pro Skater 1, and I think you probably have more memory of Pro Skater 2 than I do.
Yeah, but they had the skate and all the stuff you unlock. I mean, I'm just getting giddy thinking about it. I'm like, maybe I'll go fire up my little Raspberry Pi.
And there's been this big gap in the video game catalogs right now. Is what the last time there was like a brand new skateboarding video game? What was it? Just the game called Skate?
I think Skate 3 was one, and they tried it for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, and they had like a different control mechanism. Like, it was kind of more like you finesse the joystick, and it was almost kind of like a Street Fighter game. Whereas like if you did like the right rotational composition of the stick, you could pull off the trick. So it wasn't necessarily about going like up square triangle, to do like a kickflip or whatever. You like massage the stick the right way. So they were innovating on it at least. But yeah, it's been a while since there's been a skate game.
And again, this has online multiplayer, which is going to be great. So I mean, I'm looking forward to playing the skate mode or the horse mode and multiplayer with people.
Yeah,
so,
that'd be sick.
Because couch co-op was great, but online is key now. Excuse me, I had to sneeze off mic. I had
Sounds
to mute
like
it.
you died. Sounds like you died for a second.
Yeah, I did. I had to mute it real fast because I'm not going to sneeze in this. I respect all of you. But Mike, you have been watching people play some other classic remastered games.
Yeah,
lately.
Speaking of remasters, there's been a remastered of Resident Evil 2 that happened last year, and then Resident Evil 3, which came out this year. And, sometimes it is indeed fun to play video games, but at the same time, sometimes it's fun to watch other people play video games. Yeah. And one of my favorite Let's Players out there is Markiplier. He just has I just like the way he plays games in general. He doesn't like to he likes to goof around, but he also likes to complete the game. He really concentrates on not necessarily 100%ing it, but getting everything that the game wants him to do. So you're never just like angry, like, no, why didn't you check out that room? There could have been something cool in there. So he's always very thorough. He's always very entertaining. And he's good at playing like scary games. I know there's scarier games out there than Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, but like he doesn't he'll still be scared, but he doesn't let things faze him. So he won't be like a baby and like not go down the hallway because he's worried something's gonna pop out at him. So anyway, he did a couple videos on Resident Evil 2 and 3. So I watched those over the last couple weeks, and those games were really fun to watch. There's a really kind of in-depth story somewhere in there, and it's just fun to watch. I like the remaster. I guess there's rumors out there that they might be remastering Resident Evil 4.
Oh, there's no rumors. They've confirmed like they're going through them.
Which is really crazy to think about, because they remastered 2 and 3 by converting the gameplay to Resident Evil 4 gameplay. So are they just going to give a graphical polish to Resident Evil 4, or I'm just curious what they're going to do.
I think the Resident Evil remasters are more akin to the Final Fantasy remakes, where like the story kind of changes, but you get some of the characters and there's like little tweaks and stuff to modernize it compared to the old style. But I think 4 is going to have some changes as well. Possibly even, I think maybe they said another character or something. So
yeah, I mean, if they wanted to add a different character, like because there's a version where you can play Ada Wong, I believe, in Resident Evil 4, but I don't think it's very long or super fleshed out. So if they wanted to elaborate on that would be cool. Add maybe a couple new bosses, that would be sweet. But I will either be buying it or I'll be watching it streamed. But yeah, there's a huge marketplace out there for remade nostalgia, and I'm just glad that they're innovating on it, at least, because you look at like a company like Nintendo, and all they really do is they just put out a brand new console and they just make you re-buy all of the same video games all over again, and they don't really do much to innovate on their old stuff.
What has been cool about the Nintendo Switch is they use the online service, which is only $20 a year, to give you access to those games now.
So you don't have to just buy them out. Like if I wanted to play Super Mario World, I don't just have to re-buy it again. It's just kind of like a subscription.
Correct. If you're part of their online, which is like PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live, you get access to whatever their retro media catalog is. And it's not every game yet, but like Super Mario World, Super Nintendo, and regular Nintendo games are all over it. So
well, that's good. They're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think they feature like save states and stuff like that. Like modern emulators kind of do. So with some little bonus features. But yeah, like I hated when I bought the Wii U. I'm like, I have to pay $10 to get Super Mario 3 again. Like I've spent like $100 on this game over its lifetime. Like, stop making me buy it. So I understand that completely.
Yeah, they'll find it. They'll find their way. But if we had to transition here slightly into the QuaranStream corner, we've built it out a little bit more this episode. We have a little bit more to talk about. But before we leave the corner, two things that I watched this week is there's a reality competition show on Netflix called Win the Wilderness that we just kind of watched on a whim. I believe it's new, but I don't know exactly when it was added. But it's a small 6-episode season where 6 couples kind of all vie for the opportunity to win this middle of nowhere like cabin in Alaska. It's very strange to watch during a quarantine when everybody's kind of stuck in their houses, and that these people are trying to literally win the perfect place to live during a quarantine, which is where there's no living person within like I think 200 miles of this cabin. But it was really cool to watch because the couple that own the cabin and the land around it very well could have just listed on a real estate website and sold the cabin and then moved on to their retirement. But what they decided to do is, I guess somewhere along the lines, they hooked up with a production company and they said, hey, I think the production company is just going to buy the house from you. You guys don't have to worry about selling it. But if you work together with us, we can find the perfect couple to take over your cabin. Because this guy that kind of walked into the wilderness and took claim to this mountain had like old VHS recordings of him building it, and it took him like 9 years to build this like log cabin, and it looks awesome. They have like a greenhouse and all this other stuff. So it's just this really cool thing where it's like part reality show, part documentary of this guy that built this thing in the middle of nowhere, and then their kind of sweet, kind of emotional journey of trying to give it away. So it's more along the line of like Great British Bake Off when it comes to like the sentimentality and niceness of the competition, and it's not necessarily like Extreme Home Makeover where, you know, everything's trumped up to be greater than it is. So yeah, if you just kind of want to watch if you want to see some nice sweeping vista shots of Alaska, check out Win the Wilderness. But after watching it, my wife and I were just like, I didn't know there were so many mosquitoes in Alaska. So if you thought Alaska was this nice magical place, it still might be, but I was kind of bummed to see that there's so many freaking mosquitoes up there. Like, you can see them on the lens. The more high definition you watch this show, I'm sure if you watch it in 4K, you're going to see even more mosquitoes. So just look out for mosquitoes.
So Alaska has the same problems we do, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I was thinking, since they're so far north and, you know, it's so like kind of iconic for being cold and snowy, and, you know, I just kind of thought maybe there wouldn't be like bugs up there, but I guess there's lots of freaking mosquitoes. So Win the Wilderness on Netflix. And then finally a new released film in the style of Trolls 2 World Tour. Sorry if I don't remember all the suffixes to that movie. But Scoob came out this week, and thanks to a la Chris's Plex server, I was able to check it out just earlier this morning. And I have to say, Chris, the fast forward feature on your Plex server worked out perfectly, and I didn't have to sit through this entire movie, which was exactly how you watch this movie, because I think it would be a little difficult to sit down as an adult and really get the enjoyment out of Scoob that you would want. If I had to give it any caveats, I would say, if you have children, I'm sure they'll have a great time watching this movie. It's nice to see a slightly different animation style. You know, the characters aren't all nice and polished. They kind of have like weird angles and juts to them, so that's kind of entertaining. That's a little nice to look at. If you're a fan of the Hanna-Barbera universe, you get a lot of Hanna-Barbera cameos. Mm-hmm. So if you're like a really old school Scooby fan, you'll see some enjoyment there. But I feel kind of weird critiquing or reviewing the movie just because I wasn't the biggest fan of really old Scooby-Doo. Because when I was a kid, the classic Scooby-Doo just felt like an old cartoon to me. I was just like, I don't want to watch these old cartoons. I want to watch new cartoons. And plus, like, anime was becoming like a big thing when I was a kid. And like,
it scared review.
I would love to watch, like, I would much rather watch like Dragon Ball Z or like old Dragon Ball stuff over like classic Scooby-Doo. That's just, that was just my generation, and no knock on the old stuff. So now that like this new Scooby-Doo is out, I'm just like, no, I don't like this new Scooby-Doo. I like my old Scooby-Doo, Escape from Zombie Island, which technically isn't the old Scooby-Doo. That was a reboot of Scooby-Doo. There's lots of generational love for Scooby-Doo out there. But
wasn't there a Scooby-Doo in the 13 Ghosts where he had to go, or something ghost, and each episode he had to go put a ghost back into a ghost box?
Was that? I don't know.
Yeah,
was that?
There was a series where he had to go.
Is that somewhat recent? Is that out of the?
That's 90s.
Okay. All right. Well, who knows? But I have a room in my heart for only one Scooby-Doo, and that was one of the earlier remakes, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, when they were doing all those direct to VHS DVD movies. So yeah, who knows if your kids will like it, but me and my wife didn't really like it that much. So that's my very short review of Scoob.
So I know there's a couple things I didn't watch. So I did get a couple clips of it. I think the voice acting for Scooby and Shaggy are pretty good. Will Forte,
yeah,
he's a master of doing good things that nobody watches.
Yeah, I mean that was my really only way to convince my wife to watch Scoob with me, was saying Will Forte is the voice of Shaggy, and we're huge Will Forte stans in this household. So we're really excited to see that.
Mm-hmm. And then also I know Captain Caveman and I forget his little sidekick was in this, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I'm like, oh, because those are in the trailer. That's why I'm going to say those are in the trailer. I'm like, oh, those are fun characters to reference, because I knew that. I was like, oh, that's exciting.
It kind of seems like maybe they're trying to expand or kind of kickstart a Hanna-Barbera universe, which could be fun. But this movie was a little sloppy for me. It kind of felt like before they started production, maybe they hired a couple comedians to do some punch-up, which usually don't get credited on a movie. They just get paid to throw in some jokes without drastically changing the movie. So every once in a while, you would get kind of like a poignant, funny joke or commentary on like the Scooby-Doo franchise in general, or just a joke that stood out as not a child's joke, but as an adult joke. And I was like, well, that doesn't really fit the flow of the movie at all, but it is kind of funny. But then they would kind of fall back on their laurels and just kind of do some old Scooby wacky stuff. So I don't know, the way I'm describing it could be selling it to you, but it wasn't selling it on our end. I'm just more curious come Monday what their video on demand numbers are going to be, because I think it's almost proven that the reason that this movie came out straight digital was because of the success of Trolls. So I'm waiting to see how it does financially, because I'm more curious on that side of the business side of animation than I am specifically what happened in this movie.
Much like I think will happen to Trolls, too many kids will want this, and it will break records. Probably because of
I mean, if you go on any digital video marketplace right now, if you open up like Amazon Prime, if you're just on the screensaver for Roku, I mean, you see ads for Scoob all over the place. So that seems to be the game plan, is you advertise it digitally wherever you possibly have eyeballs to sell it.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's a pup named Scooby-Doo, but it'll do. It'll do. It'll
doobie do.
Is Scrappy in this?
Well, from the parts that we watched, we didn't see Scrappy. Right. But when you fast forward on Plex, you do get the little square previews of the things that you're missing. So we're just like, I didn't see Scrappy anywhere in there. So there was no post-credit scene, as far as I know, that featured Scrappy. So I guess that'll be in the eventual sequel.
Yeah, and also I didn't mention Plex in this whole time. It was all Mike in this one. He's touting the features that he loves so much.
Yep.
But we've been watching some other stuff. There's a Quaran-Stream. I'm gonna say, I was gonna talk about. I watched prop culture on Disney Plus. First 2 episodes. Really enjoy it, Mike. If you get a chance. The first one is about Mary Poppins. It's probably the least related ones I have. The second one is Tron. The last episode is the Muppet movie. And there's also Roger Rabbit in there. So I'm going to be watching those like one a day, but I'd recommend that as well.
So it's all about the props, the physical things that made up the films?
Yeah, like the guy who hosts it, he's like he looks like Michael Moore to his disadvantage, but he is a prop collector. And he goes and meets people who like made some of the props in the movies and reunites cast with original props and like tries to restore some stuff.
That's pretty cool. I like that concept.
Yeah, it's not like here's the umbrella from Mary Poppins and what it looks like. They're like, we can't find the original umbrella, but here's what we use for the new one. And then he like goes on this history, like finding the carpet bag and what the history of it. It was really fun. So I recommend it if you guys. It's like 22 minutes. Like they're easy to digest. Episodes.
Oh, that's perfect. Well, speaking of props, real quick, we the wife and I finished our rewatch of the Harry Potter films and on Blu-ray, so we were able to check out some of the special features. And we watched this one segment on the last Blu-ray disc of Deathly Hallows Part 2, where in the film they go into the gigantic room of requirement that's just full of tons of stuff because they're looking for the Ravenclaw tiara. So they had a cool special feature of kind of how they populated that room. Obviously, a lot of the room is generated via green screen, but there was a large quantity of that room that was real physical stuff that they walked through. And they talked about how they had just done, 7 films, and over these 7 films they've collected so much just stuff, so many things for props. So they pretty much took everything they had and put it in one room and started stacking it on top of each other and gluing it together, zip tying it and whatnot. So I thought that was pretty rad and pretty cool. So props are always really, really fun. It's always nice to know that movies are still made with like real physical things.
Yes, and we can enjoy those as well. But speaking of quick short episodes. Quibi.
You're really trying there.
It was until you went off on this other tangent on props and Harry Potter. I'm like, well, I can't really bring it back easily.
Quibi kind of sounds like a spell, like a wizard spell. I don't know what it would do. Quib. They usually kind of rhyme. Maybe it's something quickness. Or maybe if you say Quibi, it turns your pizza into a smaller pizza. Well, little bits.
I would say if someone's telling a long story, you Quibi them and they speed up the story at like 1.5.
Oh, I like that. That's a great. That is actually really. I would feel like that's a very in-universe spell because it doesn't really make any sense. The magic of it doesn't really fit into any sort of theory. But if you just throw it out there and you just see it happen on screen, you're like, oh, that was fun. That was magic.
Yeah. Hey, I know. I've been there. I know what they're doing.
Is your professor a little long-winded and you're trying to get out of class early? Use a Quibi spell on them.
Use the Quibi spell. But Quibi has updated. They have fallen out of the top 10 apps on the App Store to like 150th. I think we said 152nd, which is that's still pretty good for the free apps. But it had a quick burst of energy and then kind of people aren't getting it every day. But I think what's interesting is the makers Katzenberg and I forget who the other lady's name is. Were very against people airplaying their content from their phone to their TVs or what's it, Google Chromecast. And they have very much backtracked on that this past week, wholeheartedly, allowing people to do that in the next update of the app, because they were very much like, well, you want to either we want to give you the option of watching it vertical or horizontal, and I think I said this on the show. I'm like, I want to watch it on my Apple TV. I'd rather just sit down and watch, 10 minutes, fine. I could watch like 3 of these in a row. That's cool. But they didn't want you to do that. But now they're going to go back and do that, Mike. Does that make it more...
Well, I guess these announcements were enough to boost it back up because I'm checking the top of the charts now, and it's gone back into the top 100. It's at 89
good.
Right now. But yeah, I believe they're also adding a sharing functionality because when Quibi first came out, people reported that you couldn't take screenshots of any of the content. So if you were really digging anything on Quibi, there was no way you could really share that to the world. I mean, I guess you could type a text tweet and maybe Google a promotional image for the show that you liked, but that's not how the internet works. That's not how people use their devices. They want to take a screenshot and share it, usually with the captions on because they want to share a really funny moment. So I think they're adding some sort of sharing functionality. I don't know exactly what that's going to entail. And like you said, I would like to be able to watch it on my TV because the only thing I really have watched on Quibi and have sought out is Reno 911, which is if you were a fan of the original Reno 911, very easy to recommend this. I watched the first 2 episodes. It feels just like Reno 911 when it was aired on Comedy Central. Obviously, the episodes are a little bit shorter. I mean, the episodes were always filled with segments in general, and it has been a while since I've seen it. So I believe during the normal half-hour episodes, there was a thread that kind of moved through the episode, and usually there'd be a sketch that kind of stretched and chunks.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it
was like a 3 sketch maximum, like a start, a middle, and an end, and everything in the middle was whatever.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe if I kept watching it on Quibi, maybe there is like a moving thread throughout it, but as of right now, it's just kind of like sketches, but it's still funny. They got like the whole cast back. It's all great. It's just kind of unfortunate that it's on Quibi right now, because I just want a Quibi app on my TV so I can just sit down and just watch Reno 911 old school style. This was the first time. I don't know if this is a new feature, because like I said, I don't think a lot of people know all the nuances of Quibi quite yet. But when I first started watching it, if you wanted to experience different video from vertical and horizontal, you just had to guess when that would happen. You just have to turn their phone. Well, when I was watching Reno 911, there's a segment where there's like a bunch of teenagers recording the cops with their phone, and I got a little haptic feedback on my phone, and I got a little icon in the corner that told me to rotate my phone, and then when I did that, I could see the video through the teenagers' phone screens. And then it told me to move it back when we were seeing the normal like camera that was filming the show. But after that kind of like onboarding process, the icon never popped up again. So I went back into the anxiety-driven mode of watching Quibi, of constantly twisting my phone left and right. What video am I missing? But I just had to come to the conclusion, like, this is just Reno 911. This is just about jokes and funny stuff. Like, I'm not going to get a funnier joke if I turn the phone a different way. So I just said screw it, and I just left it horizontal, and then I just watched it like I was watching it on Netflix.
Would you trust them, now that you know that they would tell you, hey, here's some extra stuff, would you just be like, only be looking out for that going forward? Would that help your anxiety? You know, and like, hey, they're going to tell me when there's extra content.
I'm almost curious if that's a worthwhile maybe checkbox to turn on the app that says, let me know whenever there's an alternate content to turn the phone. I just don't know exactly if the people that are the filmmakers creating this need to think of a more clever way to just maybe let it be known a little bit more obvious that there's more cameras in the room and start to turn it. But I will give Quibi the benefit of the doubt that every promotional material that I saw for this app before it launched shows somebody in their car or somebody waiting in line. And nobody has to do that anymore because we're all stuck at home. So, yes, I think this is one of the few services that actually probably could blame the coronavirus as something that's inhibiting their business. But at the same time, it is also easy to look at the other side of the coin and go like, oh, but you're streaming video. Streaming video is huge right now. Everybody wants it. But since they've tied it so much to the fact of you have to be out in the world to really enjoy it, you know, there's no PlayStation or Xbox Quibi app right now, or no Roku app where you can just watch it. So yeah, I think just give me a Roku app, and then just there's different buttons on my remote. Just tell me to hit the down arrow, and I can see the other video feed.
What it needs to do is have the app sync up with whatever you're watching on your TV. So you're seeing the kid's phone on your hand, and it's synced up with the widescreen.
That might be kind of cool. At the very least, give me options. Yeah. You know,
I know it'd be a little technical, but if you wanted to do that, like you would, Mike, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. It's kind of strange right now because before we hit this pandemic, I would have said, oh, you'll know when Quibi's in its death throw when they put out like a Roku app that you can just watch, and they just totally abandon this idea of a phone just to get as many users paying or watching ads as possible. But now they kind of have to do it out of necessity, not necessarily because they're about to go under. I mean, they could very well be, but it's just like they need to get eyeballs, and right now that is televisions. Right. So, I don't feel too bad for Quibi. These are millionaires and multimillionaires and billionaires that have invested in the app. I don't really care about people like that. So if it goes under or not, but I'll watch Reno 911 before it goes under.
But here's the thing: we won't know it goes under until August because they don't make you pay until 3 months is up.
Yeah, that's true. I think depending on, I think the last, like you said, the last free 90-day trial person will be ending in August. I'm ending in July, like around the beginning of July, and I'm not going to be continuing the service just because there's nothing really drawing me into it right now that I really gotta watch. So that's Quibi for you.
Yep, there you go. That's the way the Quibi crumbles, Mike. If you will. It's fine. Lastly, the other thing on our QuaranStream services, we always talk about the Peacock. I think this is the last big streaming thing, right? From Comcast, and NBC Universal is the Peacock, which I hate the name of this fucking thing. They announced that they will offer a free ad-supported version that offers 7,500 hours of programming. So next day access to current seasons of new NBC series, full runs of older stuff, news, sports, whatever. I think this is a lot like a Netflix, or not the cheap Hulu plan, but only for NBC
I was going to
stuff.
say it sounds like the free Hulu.
Yep. Well, there's no free Hulu, is there? It's like
there at one point in time there was free Hulu, but it didn't last very long.
Yeah, but it's just NBC stuff. But if you go and pay $5 a month, you can I believe if you have Comcast or Cox Communications for $5, you get the premium tier, which is like 15,000 hours of stuff, live and on-demand content. Or there's the other one, which is $10 for an ad-free version that is essentially the same thing in 4K HDR content.
Yeah, it's very confusing, but it kind of does sound like every model bundle that Hulu has ever had, because they did have a free version that was limited. I remember back in college going through the free Hulu, and they'd be like, "Oh man, this movie's on Hulu," and then you click on it, it's like, "No, this is for like paid subscribers only." And then you would have friends that would have like the middle way model because they didn't mind watching commercials. And then if your friends were rich enough, or if they're just stealing it from their parents, you would get the premium model, which actually didn't come out until much later without commercials. And as soon as that happened, I jumped on it. Right.
So it sounds like you got a free one. There's a $5 version if you're already a cable person, or a $10 to $15 if you want to add on a cord cutter like ourselves.
Yeah, this sounds like a really sneaky, not really sneaky, but this is a way to juice your numbers. Like what every streaming service wants to do right now is they want that Hollywood Reporter or Business Insider article that says, "Oh, Peacock is touting this many subscribers." But really, once you click into the article and you read the distribution, they'll be like, "Oh, well, we're technically counting cable subscribers as Peacock subscribers, but then also only like 10% of them are on the ad-free one, and then we have a lot of these people just watching NBC normally, and okay, I guess we'll count those as Peacock subscribers as well." So I would say any numbers that Peacock announces in the future are going to be a little sus.
Yeah,
if you will.
But I think the thing is, it's got a lot of content that people will enjoy who love to watch the same shows over and over again. The Office, 30 Rock, Parks and Rec, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Cheers, Everybody Loves Raymond, Downton Abbey, Frasier, Will and Grace, House. They got all this stuff that people. Yeah. If you watch one of these shows, you watch it on repeat.
Yeah, I will agree. They have some of the best rewatchable content. And also next year you'll be able to watch the Olympics straight through them, which I think could be really nice, because one of the crazy thing about the Olympics is, like, unless you're like got like TiVo games on point, like you gotta like record all of this stuff, and then at the same time it's like all this stuff airs at different times. So it'll be nice that Peacock will hopefully probably just have different channels. They'll probably have like a track and field channel, like a swimming channel. I'm sure they'll have like a running channel, like the marathon one where people are like running for like 1,000 miles.
And we're also just mentioning NBC, but they are also NBC Universal. So any Universal film, including DreamWorks and Illumination, will be on here. Which is like Jurassic Park, the American Pie, franchise, E.T., old Spielberg movies as well. So,
and the other week on the podcast, we mentioned how Lego has sold its movie rights over to Universal for the present time moving forward. So you might be seeing new Lego movies on the Peacock app. There's a show that we really liked. One of the kind of the last NBC comedies that we were watching in our house was. It starred. I feel bad because I can't even remember the name of it off the top of my head. But it starred Dennis from
AP Bio.
Always AP Bio. That's what it was. Yep. Yeah, it had Patton Oswalt as the principal. What's his face from Always Sunny as the biology teacher.
Yep.
Whatever I think he technically moved over to a different subject, maybe partway through the season. But that show got canceled, and then it's getting resurrected over at Peacock. So I think that's great because that show's really funny. So I don't know. I guess I'll probably be going for the $10 model because this guy hates commercials.
Yeah, probably. And there's some other stuff in there. They're working on new content. We'll see how if this delay. I mean, they're gonna launch. I think June or July they said, and we'll see when the new content happens because of the quarantine. But I think NBC Universal has much like me better content, better selection than CBS All Access does. And if I had to choose one, NBC Universal was probably up there.
Well, yeah,
me.
I mean, CBS All Access is just the Star Trek streaming service at this point in time.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it here a little bit more in a bit, but like, I don't know anything on that app that's not getting buzz at Star Trek, you know?
Yeah. You asked me what's on there. I'm like, I don't know. Picard?
It's all Star Trek.
Yeah, so this looks pretty cool in terms of what they're offering and the options. Again, the idea is you get them on the free model, and they're watching your stuff next day. You don't have to pay royalties to Hulu for their stuff, you know. So I don't think people will move away from it, but the free option is going to be pretty cool. And don't they also do Saturday Night Live? Is that on NBC?
Yeah, that's NBC.
So I believe, man, the whole old library of Saturday Night Live episodes.
Yeah, that would be bonus.
Yeah, because I'm tired of going to YouTube for those.
Yeah.
So,
but Chris, before I forget, if anybody can tell, we have a very short news bullet points this week.
Yeah.
I have to say, before we move on to the news, I finally did it. I did a back-to-back rewatch of Infinity War and Endgame yesterday.
Oh.
The wife and I sat down all cuddled on the couch, and just for like 5.5 hours, we watched Infinity War and Endgame, and it was awesome.
I was gonna say you were very quiet yesterday, because I'm like, hey Mike, look at my computer, and you didn't say anything, so I was like, everybody's doing something. So now I'm glad to know what you were doing, and that's definitely well worth it.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, we started with Infinity War, which is actually something that I have rewatched once or twice because it was a little bit more accessible. It was on Netflix, and also, of course, I had to rewatch it before we went and saw Endgame last year. So this was my first time rewatching Endgame, and it's just so great. I love everything. And it was really nice because recently I have felt very detached from the Marvel MCU because it feels like it's been years since we've seen a movie. Yeah. Like we keep saying, the common thread is we lost all trace of time. It feels like Endgame in reality came out 2 years ago, and Spider-Man Far From Home came out like a year ago. And I was like, is really Spider-Man the last MCU movie we've had? We haven't really revisited this universe. We don't know what anybody's doing. What's everyone up to now? So it was nice seeing all these characters again. And I really I forgot the last time we saw Thor. He was going off with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and just this him and Quill's little banter of who's really captain. So we gotta have a little catch up on what's going on with all these people. So it was nice revisiting it, and I had a great time.
Well, like some people said, by the time we get to a Marvel movie, we'll actually catch up to the Endgame timeline at this rate. So
yes,
we'll see. But I'm excited. We've got movies coming out later this year, hopefully, knock on wood. And Marvel's always there. Almost all those movies, I believe, now are on Disney Plus for the MCU. Apparently, some of the older ones, the Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, first Thor, maybe Captain America, were shot on actual film, and then when they uploaded them to digital, all the movies get a film filter, and they accidentally they filtered the actual movies that were shot on film. And it looked really bad, but I think they've corrected that. But I was hearing about that over the past couple days, and I was like, that's interesting.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, the things automated systems will overlook very easily. I think the Simpsons are back to square ratio now on Disney.
Oh my God, are you serious, Chris?
Yeah,
you're just telling me this now. This should have been a morning tweet that I woke up to from you. I'm surprised that you've held out this long.
What?
Hold on, I'm opening up the Disney Plus app right now. This is breaking news for me.
Oh my gosh!
So everybody, shut up. No, you don't have to shut up.
Man, this guy, he's serious about his Simpsons ratio.
I've been wanting to do a Simpsons rewatch for the longest time.
All
right. What is Simpsons play? I don't need collections.
Well, see, that's the beauty. I was gonna say the beauty of Disney Plus lately, and including the Simpsons, is they've been doing what I asked them to do, was make the playlists of specific episodes or shows and movies, and they've done that. So that's cool. But you can pick any of them. I think they're all back to square.
Okay. I kind of had to scroll through the little. There's like just a generic kind of like Simpsons poster if you want to watch it. Okay, so
all right,
this is the first episode. It's currently on widescreen right now, but I believe the Simpsons World app, people complained because if you wanted to watch it in standard, you'd had to hit like a button. I'm not seeing any options for standard 4:3 here, Chris. I don't know if you're lying to me or what's going on.
Hold on, it should be.
Here.
So let me see here. By the end of May. I saw some people think. I think it might be certain episodes might already be available. Not all of them, but they're all.
All right.
They all will be by the end of this month.
Well, I will give you a reprieve, Chris. I thought this was available right now, so I'll take back my anger.
Okay, because I've been seeing a lot of like on Reddit people sharing like comparisons lately, and I just assumed that they were all done that way, but it might have been a couple. So
good. End of May. Good to hear.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so let's while we're talking and looking back with fond rose-tinted glasses, Mike. Those X-Men movies, though, right? They're pretty good. The first ones, 1 and 2, at least. And then after that, I stopped counting them. But Funko, since Marvel has purchased Fox back, they have now licensed the Pops out for the original X-Men, and they're coming out later this year. And I will tell you what, I kind of like some of these. Again, I collect all the Pop vinyls, but you know,
is the tank-topped Wolverine with his kind of arms crossed? Is that X-Men Origins Wolverine?
So we're gonna go through this. So the first picture shows Storm, Mystique, Wolverine, Magneto, and Professor Xavier, and this is X-Men 1. Okay. The next page...
We're missing a few, but that'll probably be their next run for X-Men 1.
Well, the next page is the X-Men 2 costumes. So you have... Or in X-Men 3. So you have Wolverine in that. I think that's from X2, whenever he like goes through the ice and hits Stryker.
Oh, okay.
You get the Jean Grey going full Phoenix, X-Men 3. The Frazier version of Beast. Rogue. Nightcrawler, I don't like his outfit, but I love the details on his face.
Oh, yeah, those are great details.
And Cyclops. And then the two specialty ones, we have a metallic Mystique at Target. And then this is actually the Magneto from the First Class films.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like the armor plating on his chest. Like I've said in the past, I'm usually not the biggest fan of Funko in general. I'm not a collector, but I do like checking out the little details that they work into their models.
They've come a long way in terms of like they all used to look generic-y with the same head model, and they just changed the hair. But they've really added some details here into a lot of these that sell. Because I have, the comic book versions of every one of these characters, and they don't look nearly as good as these here.
I bet Funko headquarters has the highest end 3D printers on the market, because I'm sure every time they get like a new model, they print it out first before they go through these mass pressings. So I'd love to see what their 3D printer setup is at a Funko headquarters.
My guess is they've got these all modular in there, and they're like, okay, I'm going to take this helmet and pop it on this dude's head, and how can we reuse these molds for everything? But I think it looks fun. I think it looks good. I'm excited for this kind of stuff. So. Yeah, you know that. But I thought it was cool to share those if you're an X-Men fan. That's there, which leads us into our next topic, X-Men New Mutants.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, the new release date is set for April 28th, 2020 in theaters. I think this is it. I think you mean August. You said April. I'm sorry, August. Yeah, August 20th. It was April
Slip
before.
of the tongue.
Yeah, I was excited for it being released in April.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I'm sure there was an April release date at some point.
It was April beforehand. So August 28th is the next one, 2020. So I think even if it hits 10 theaters, this will be the theater opening. I think this is it. But there's also, they have not done any reshoots or major edits from the 2017 edit of the film with the original director. So this is the unadulterated New Mutants movie that, is just going to come out. It's going to be a Fox movie, and we'll move on, I think.
Yeah. I mean, we are partially immunocompromised in this household, so I don't think I'm going to be going to any large gatherings of people. Even if they do limit the theater seating, I don't think I'm going to be going into a theater to see the New Mutants until at least there's some sort of medication, some sort of vaccine out there, something that'll actually help you combat the virus. So August just seems so soon, even though it seems like we've been quarantined forever. Like August is just like the end of the summer, and we're about starting the summer right now. So I just don't imagine things really changing that much by August. So what I hope happens is like what you just said. They put it out there in a couple theaters. So maybe if they're trying to fulfill a contract out there in the world, they have contractually reached their obligation of releasing it into theaters, and then they just release it digitally maybe like 3 or 4 weeks later, and then we can finally watch it in the comfort of our and safety of our own homes. But I'm just shocked it keeps getting pushed. August just seems too soon. So like you just just like you kind of alluded to earlier, could this release date possibly be moving yet again? Because August just does not seem like a 100%, yeah, this is going to be good to go date yet.
I think it'll be good to go in terms, I think theaters will be open under different terms within 3 months. I mean, we just said at the top show, we've only been in lockdown 2 months. What does 3 more months look like? Will some theaters be open with different rules? Like, hey, you can only book seats, X so far apart.
I watch a box office kind of rundown show every week, and there technically is some box office numbers coming in because there's like one theater open in Texas right now that's actually generating money for like some new smaller movies, and the rules for this theater are every other row and then every 2 seats, unless you come as a couple, unless you buy 2 seats and you're cohabitating, then you can sit next to each other. So even if you can sell out a whole theater, you're not really selling out a whole theater.
Right. Well, the thing is, I'm thinking a multiplex kind of thing right now, right? How many movies are coming out? One movie a month, maybe. So if all your screens are showing the one movie, it might make its money back.
Possibly. I mean, if it's a big movie, I think some people out there have done the math. When it was the anniversary of Endgame the other week, I think I did come across somebody that did the math. What if Endgame, a big movie with big hype, came out right now, and they ran the best possible scenarios, basically. What if it ran in literally every single screen, every single time slot, and they filled every single seat that could possibly be filled. And I think it still was a little dicey. So yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be hitting any benchmarks, any records. Yeah. There's not going to be any record highs coming this year, I believe.
No, I mean, at least not till probably November or so. Mm-hmm. When things are back. But I mean, August is that's Wonder Woman's month right now as well, Mike. I think studios are banking on this to again meet some contractual things. Again, this movie will not be coming to Disney Plus right away unless they've paid off HBO, because HBO owns the streaming rights to this movie, and it'll probably go to HBO Max almost right away. So I think it will hit it. I think it'll be fine, and I think it'll just be one of those things that it's delayed, and then we forget it after it came out, and we never really talk about it again until the X-Men box set comes out of everything.
Yes, there'll be a legacy box set that has everything that Fox put out, and some collector out there will want it. Somebody like Chris, maybe not Chris himself, but there's a lot of people out there that have the same DNA as Chris does when it comes to having to own it all.
Gotta catch them all. X-Men movies.
Pokemon, yeah.
So yeah, there's that, but that's okay because it's fine for this movie. We'll be all right. The next thing, though, I think about broke the internet this week easily. The theater production of Hamilton was filmed and purchased by Disney earlier this year to release in theaters of 2021. Uh-huh. We're that's way too far away. They've already got it done. What do they have to do to this movie, right? Or this play? Well, they're putting it on Disney Plus. July 3rd, this version will hit Disney Plus. People are freaking out. They love Hamilton. I've seen it twice. Mike, I believe you've seen it.
Yes, I've seen it. Listened to the soundtrack probably about maybe once every other month. It's great.
Yeah, I'm not I watch. My wife's obsessed with it. I'm not as obsessed with it, but I understand the hype behind it and people's things. So this is great for a lot of people who could not go out and see it. A lot of theater productions are shutting down temporarily and some permanently, including Frozen, I think, has been closed off Broadway permanently now because of this. Uh-huh. Yep. So this is a year ahead of schedule. I think a lot of people were very happy to hear this news. I think it raised a lot of spirits.
Yeah, it just goes to show you that originally it coming out next year was just a strategical release. It seems like that they were looking at their release flowchart in their offices, and they're just we kind of have a gap here. Maybe we should put Hamilton there. That's a good idea. But now everybody's stuck at home. Everybody's got to prove the worth of their monthly subscription fee. So Hamilton's the way to do it.
Yeah, and like I said, there's nothing left for this to do. It's already been filmed and it was vaulted until Disney bought it. So I'm what are they going to do to it? Nothing.
Yeah.
So
Hamilton's really fun. A lot of catchy songs. That's a great story. I know there's a stigma, I guess, around theater and theater people in general, where they kind of get a little too excited and a little too freaked out. Yes, and dramatic. If you can remember any of your theater kids back in high school, and my wife was a theater kid. I have lots of friends that are theater kids, so no ill will sent towards them. But if that kind of hype and is kind of keeping you away from enjoying and watching Hamilton, don't let it. It's really fun. It's a great time, and it's very educational actually too.
Yeah.
It's raps. They're rap in history. It's fun.
The best
give it a
of
shot.
both worlds, Mike.
Yeah, give it a shot come July.
On July 3rd, the day before America's birthday, which I think a lot of takes place around July 3rd and 4th.
Oh, heck. Oh, I'm so dumb. I didn't even think about the fact that this movie's coming out just before the 4th of July. Wow, right over my head.
Mike doesn't know when he is or where he is at this point. That's fine.
Oh, my wife is baking bread, though, and it's like coming through the door. It smells so good.
Oh, how original during quarantine.
any sort of... Well, the thing is, we're doing it a little bit more high-tech, which I think you'll appreciate. We have a bread maker, Chris.
Yeah.
So we just throw all the ingredients into this machine, and it just makes our bread for us.
Is your bread maker's name Andy?
No, there's no hue lights on it, Chris,
okay.
so you probably won't excite
I don't
me as
understand.
much.
Is it? Can I put bread on my Plex server?
Yeah, it doesn't change. Color. I don't understand.
That's fine. Mandalorian season 2 coming out. I think most of this is done filming. The announcements are still coming out. Season 2 has added actor Timothy Olyphant.
Yes.
Known for shows such as Deadwood or his critically acclaimed movie Hitman.
Yeah, he was. He's also was the star of a long running show, Justified. I don't know exactly how many seasons it had, but me and my wife fell in love with him when we watched the Santa Clarita Diet, which was a streaming series on Netflix, which was ill-fated and canceled, which bums me out thinking about it because it was such a fun little kind of universe that they were building, and it was just hilarious. So we are not only big Will Forte fans in this house, we are also Timothy Olyphant fans in this house. So the fact that he's coming to The Mandalorian just makes me even more excited. And this is a good time to say that I finally watched the first episode of the Mandalorian documentary.
Yes.
Which Chris was pinpoint accurate in everything he said last week. It's great. It's fun. I love hearing the stories about how these directors fell into the universe, and I totally agree. Filoni is obviously the future of Star Wars, and it seems like he's going to be given more responsibilities in season 2, which is great. But if Taika Waititi gets a feature film, I hope maybe Filoni either gets his own series, like he gets the show run, the whole series, just kind of like he did with the Clone Wars, or maybe give him a big feature film. I think he'd do a good job in a big feature. So I think Filoni's got a lot in his future.
I do, and I can't wait till you watch season 2. There's rumors of what's her name? I'm blanking on the character's name. Literally, the Clone Wars and Rebels is based on her.
Oh, Ahsoka?
Ahsoka show coming out. Maybe that's his show. Maybe that's his prize. Maybe. Is a live action Ahsoka show.
God, that'd be right up his wheelhouse, wouldn't it?
Yeah, he'd love that. He'd love it. But speaking of characters he created, Katee Sackhoff of Battlestar Galactica fame, and I believe she's in The Flash, she was the voice of Bo-Katan Kryze, which is the Mandalorian in the Clone Wars show, will be playing that character in the live action version in The Mandalorian. However,
man, that's a Star Wars name if you've ever heard a Star Wars name before.
Exactly.
Bo-Katan Kryze.
Yeah. So I think, again, Katee Sackhoff voices her and looks like her. I think the character's even modeled after her in the Clone Wars, which becomes a problem because the Clone Wars and the Mandalorian are about 30-something years apart.
Okay.
So she's gonna have to be aged up, which they would just get an older actor at that point. I think this will be a flashback.
Or it's just all aliens, who knows how long aliens actually live. We just, like I just said, we finished watching the Harry Potter franchise. Dumbledore was 150 years old, really old. So, it's not out of bounds for characters to be really old. Well, hell, Baby Yoda's 50 and he looks like a baby?
Right, but Mandalorians do have that lifespan. They do age like normal people, though. So that's the thing. I think she'll be a flashback because Bo-Katan had the Darksaber last before we saw it in Rebels.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So-
one cool thing about that documentary was, since they had some behind the scenes footage, and at least in that first episode, you got another look at the prop of the Darksaber,
which looked cool.
Which was cool. It was cool that it was an actual prop. You actually had a blade. I thought, I know the effect around it was obviously a special effect, but I thought maybe he would just be holding a hilt, and then they would just add the effect on the end of it. So I thought it was cool that they made a prop, bringing it back around to props in general.
Yeah, exactly. And that was, I mean, I agree, that was really, really awesome. But I think she will be passing on the Darksaber somehow, and figuring out how it gets to where it is now.
She probably gets murdered.
Yeah.
They probably kill her for it. It's probably very dark.
Yeah, Darth Maul had it at some point, I believe, again, maybe later. I don't know. It's in Rebels. I need to finish Rebels. So, I don't know. We'll put that up there. But Mandalorian Season 2, come along. They say it's not going to be delayed, so I think we're good to go. October, Mike. We're gonna get it. Star Trek, the Star Trek streaming service, CBS All Access, has announced they are doing a Star Trek Strange New World series, which will have Spock, Captain Pike, and Number 1 from the Discovery series in it.
It's always funny when we have to talk about Star Trek on this show, because we're just so out of our depth when it comes to these characters. Weren't people kind of upset that they included Spock in general? Because it's like, how many times are they going to redo Spock in the Star Trek universe? So now they're spinning him off again. And is he supposed to meet Captain Kirk at some point in time?
This is well before that.
So how does he age? How does a Vulcan age?
Yeah, he's still a young man. Captain Pike is who Captain Kirk took over for.
That's right. I only know that because I think wasn't Chris Hemsworth Captain Pike in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie?
Chris Hemsworth was Kirk's dad.
Oh yeah, because didn't Pike die on the ship, and then he was promoted at the cold open of that movie?
No,
I don't know.
No, you don't know.
Because it's bad when the only lore I have to pull off of is the J.J. Abrams Star Trek.
Yeah, the alternate universe version. No, Pike is the older guy he saves from the Romulans in that movie. They put the thing in his ear.
Yeah. I remember now.
So Captain Pike in this is played by Anson Mount, who unfortunately played Black Bolt in the Inhumans TV series. But they really love these characters in Discovery. This show, a lot of fans were turned off at first, but have come around to this show. But I'm surprised, with Discovery still going on, how will they spin these characters off, and will Strange New Worlds introduce us to possibly the streaming service version of Captain Kirk?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's very much in line with Star Trek in general to do kind of spin-offs and other different series, because that's been the legacy of Star Trek as far as I know. You have the original Star Trek, you have Next Generation, what is there? There's Deep Space Nine. There's another one, isn't there, too?
Yeah, Voyager is one.
Voyager.
And there's another one that's in there. Yeah.
So that's not unlike Star Trek to do spin-offs, but yeah, like you said at the top of this segment, CBS All Access is very much the Star Trek streaming service. They obviously see a lot of love there, so it makes sense for them to keep making that stuff. But I mean, for people like me who aren't really engaged in Star Trek lore, I don't see really any big sell for me, so I don't know what CBS All Access has to do to get me on board, but it's not going to be more Star Trek. So, but obviously they seem to be finding success, so they don't care about me, so there you go.
Have you watched Picard yet?
No, I like I said, I have no nostalgia for any of these characters. I don't have any connection to it at all. So it's just I think I just be confused and think it's I'm watching X-Men or spinoff of X-Men.
Well, I think again, I haven't seen an episode of Star Trek in my life. I've just seen the movies, but I mean, I've read enough to stay afloat here. But I really, really enjoyed Picard. I can't stress that enough. You can go in there and not know anything and still probably be pretty good, because it introduces new stuff to you, and they explain who the people are who they're showing up with. And that has a season 2 coming later as well. I don't know.
Well, maybe that'll get you to go back and watch Next Gen, and then you'll be our resident Star Trek expert. And we can actually talk about.
I can only go down so many fandoms, Mike, and Star Trek is not on that list.
That's true. You're quarantined, and even then you don't have enough time to go watch all that.
Yeah, I am going to stick with my Star Wars, and never shall they cross.
All right.
Doom Patrol Season 2 is set to debut on HBO Max in June, which is cool. If you've seen the first season, I guess. I've seen the first episode. That was enough for me. But it's also going to be streaming on the DC Universe at the same time because they announced that a long time ago. But June is officially the date for HBO Max, which comes out next 2 weeks, a week from.
I mean,
Tuesday?
I thought it for some reason. I thought it was the 23rd, but that doesn't really make any sense because that's a Saturday.
I thought it was the 27th.
Oh well, maybe it is the 27th. That would be a Wednesday, kind of middle of the week.
27th.
Makes a little bit more sense. Okay, so we got about 10 more days. I'm really looking forward to HBO Max. There's a lot of stuff I want to watch on it because I've been locked away from being able to watch it other places. The DC Universe is no exception. I think DC Universe. I think they'll start to maybe possibly move away from the moniker of that being on their shows. And like we mentioned at the top of the show, The Legend of Korra is kind of on this weird side Nickelodeon streaming service that you can like bolt onto Amazon for probably like $5 a month or something like that. I would imagine moving forward, the DC Universe just ends up being that. Everything being made over there will be on HBO Max at the exact same time because that's where all their audience is going to be. And then if you still kind of want this weird like little niche streaming service but don't have a need for HBO Max, they'll probably maybe let you do that. But I don't think there's much of a future for, I would say, the umbrella of the DC Universe streaming service.
I would normally agree with you, but I think that's completely wrong because DC Universe offers one thing that HBO Max will not, and that's the comic book streaming or like the digital comic book library. And right now they said that there's been like a 77% increase in digital comic books read on it since the quarantine, and I think that's enough for them to keep it around for like another year. What it may break off into is the DC Universe will be available separately and you get your comic books, or you just get HBO Max and just watch the shows.
Yeah, I mean, the comic book is just this whole other different strategy that who knows how people end up flexing it. I mean, maybe if HBO Max really wanted to push its nerd cred against Netflix, they could say like, hey, if you have HBO Max, you can read all of these comic books digitally now. Who knows? But it seems like everybody up at the top at AT&T, AT&T technically owns all of this, right? I'm sure the CEO of AT&T is just like, I want everybody on the planet watching HBO Max. Do whatever you have to do. I want to be able to announce the biggest subscriber number possible. I want to destroy Disney Plus and Netflix with all of our numbers. So they're going to try to get those eyeballs wherever they can, which means I'm sure when they announce HBO Max numbers, I bet that includes DC Universe numbers, because I imagine with the Venn diagram crossover, there's not going to be a whole lot of people out there that have DC Universe that also don't have HBO Max.
Well, I think it's definitely. I think DC Universe, again, I know it's owned by AT&T. They are comic books are in a sink more than a swim situation right now, and there's been rumored that Disney is going to buy DC and just own both comic things. I don't think that would ever happen, but never know. I don't think DC Universe will be in that Venn diagram unless they offer, hey, you can upgrade for a price. I just don't think they can count them because it's not the same service. But comic books as a whole are what's going to hold DC Universe together, because Marvel stopped their online comic book shop from their store as of, I think, this month.
Yeah, I was actually just looking that up. I was looking through my email just before you said it, because I was like, I remember getting an email and it says important Marvel digital comic shop update. So it seems like there's a lot of people just trying to think about the strategy for digital comics. I think hopefully for as long as we exist, because everyone thought like the e-reader was going to like destroy the book industry. And I think comic books and graphic novels are going to be around till the end of time, because it's just a very classic human version of storytelling that no matter how cheap computers and video editing and rendering get, and anybody can make a video, people are still going to want to read comics and books in general. So there's just a big strategy question of like, we have this big library of comic books. How do we get people to go back and read old comic books? Where do we put it? Do we bundle it with a new service? Do we just keep rolling it into something brand new every couple of years just to make it look new and shiny? Who knows? So, I'd be really curious what the DC Universe comic book future looks like.
Yeah, I don't think it'll ever go to HBO Max, because anyone I know who's getting HBO Max could give two fucks about comic books.
No, I agree.
It'll be separate, but I think if they bundle it with the movies, I think it adds more value to it. And maybe they don't have HBO Max. Like you've got your comic book fans who want to read, who who collect and want to read online. I don't know, because DC doesn't do the digital like Marvel did. It's really interesting. So there's a lot of questions here about where does DC Universe go, and they keep putting more stuff on there. So we'll see how much longer it's got. I think that the legs are running thin. So if anyone has DC Universe still and is using it regularly, let us know. Because that wouldn't be the first thing I think of. I want to turn on my streaming today and check what's on DC Universe. I think it's a very niche
I'm gonna turn on my streaming service, check out DC Universe, and instead of watching something, actually, I'm gonna read a comic book instead. Yeah. I feel like if you're gonna read a comic book, you've started from the ground up going. I'm gonna read a comic book.
I'm gonna read a comic book today. Yeah. But that brings me to the other thing. One of the shows they canceled very early on DC Universe, Swamp Thing, is going to debut on the CW shortly. I think the CW's hurting for content, live content, or new content. So they're trying to see what they can do with their parent company. Which I don't know if Swamp Thing. I don't think it was a Berlanti show. I think it was just DC fare.
Yeah, no, it wasn't Berlanti.
And I'm pretty sure this is only like a syndication kind of deal. Because everyone's like, will this show get a season 2 now if it gets good numbers on CW?
I mean, I would say that's very much a possibility. I think networks definitely listen and they look at their analytics, and if they put Swamp Thing on there and a bunch of people love it and everyone starts watching it, they'd be dumb not to consider a second season. Would it debut on the CW? Would it also debut simultaneously on HBO Max whenever they got a season 2? That's still a really big question I have about just all of this HBO Max, CW, DC TV universe in general. Is when something airs on like a Monday night, do I have to wait until the next day to watch it on HBO Max? What's the workflow here of all the content? Who's in charge of all of it? Is it going to be confusing having all of this DC TV characters on HBO Max when also they're trying to develop maybe more premium characters like Green Lantern? You don't really know where the lines connect and where the lines blur. But the big question I have is, are they only going to be able to make a season 2 if they didn't destroy that costume for Swamp Thing? Because that was the big thing that was really talked about during season 1 was, oh, this is a real guy in a real costume. It's really gonna feel like the character's alive. So I hope they saved that costume and they didn't decommission it, because they're gonna need it if they kick off a season 2. Especially if it's on a CW budget, because that was the big looming headline around it when it was canceled, was that it was possibly really expensive because they had to shorten the run. No, it was supposed to be 13 episodes and they got cut to 10.
It wasn't expensive. The producers started fighting. And then there were like 3 producers, and they all had a falling out in the middle of making the show. And they're like, we're not finishing the show. We're not writing the last 3 episodes.
Well, who knows? Maybe they could have been fighting about money, Chris.
Well, maybe, but not the budget of the show. I'll tell you that. I think the thing is going to be here. If you didn't know Swamp Thing was on the DC Universe because you only had the DC Universe, or you didn't have it, you wouldn't have watched it, right? If it's on the CW, guess what? That's free. That's free airtime. Like, those are ad-supported TV slots. So, yeah, more people will watch it. You should put it on the CW.
Yeah. And even curiouser, I wonder if the syndication deal lets it go up on the CW app. Because we do use the CW app in our house. Unfortunately, we have to suffer through a couple commercials, but that's how we keep up with the kitschy plots of Riverdale and Katie Keene, which just ended their seasons. So, yeah, if it popped up on the CW app, well, I guess technically I can watch it on HBO Max moving forward, so that's not big of a deal. Well, no, but if you're just looking for if you're looking for just free content with no subscriptions, I mean, hell, you might see Swamp Thing on the CW app.
Just to be clear, there is anything that was custom created for DC Universe will be on HBO Max. No Titans, no Swamp Thing. So we just need to be clear that you can't go watch Swamp Thing on HBO Max. You have to have DC Universe.
Well, I mean, if Doom Patrol is going to be on HBO Max, it obviously seems like it's up. It's a possibility, and it's up there. So I can imagine maybe over time they just roll the stuff into there.
They could roll over time, but I'm saying like right now at this point in time, season 2 of Doom Patrol is the only crossover they've ever announced. So I don't know if that's because I don't even know, is Berlanti in charge of Doom Patrol?
Yeah, that's their show.
Okay, because like he also had Titans too. I just didn't know because they're very separate. Like they don't.
It's all. I think the bottom line here is it's all very confusing.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like there's all of this DC content out there, but there's so many different ways to watch it. So like you can watch it for free. It's through a streaming service. It's under development at HBO Max right now. So yeah, it's all over the place.
So yeah, Swamp Thing. If you haven't watched it because you don't want to get DCU, will be on CW shortly. So. You can go watch it on your local CW.
I wonder how they're going to do the commercial breaks, because usually when you specifically write a script for airing, you put in act breaks and commercial breaks. So this will be kind of weird how I wonder if it'll feel like these weird hard cuts, or kind of like when you're watching like a video, like a 4-minute video on Facebook, and then they just like a random ad that pops up in the middle of it. That drives my wife crazy. She basically throws her phone across the room whenever that happens.
Facebook started adding continue watching on Facebook Watch, and I'm like, no.
No,
I'm not going.
No. And if we had to go off on a tangent, Facebook just bought Giphy, which is just feels like, our overlords are buying everything now. If just my family would choose to communicate to me through any other service besides Facebook, I'd probably just delete Facebook.
Yeah, well, they have Facebook groups now, Mike, so you can, or Facebook video meets.
What drives me crazy? The whole quote unquote innovation of Zoom was that you could see all of the screens at once. There wasn't like a thing where you were just stuck looking at the person who was talking at that point in time. You could see like this nice little grid. So Facebook decided to replicate that, but for some weird, bizarre reason, they put your video screen down in the lower right-hand corner, which technically overlaps with part of the grid. So it's just like, why wouldn't you just make me part of the grid? Why am I pinned down here in the corner, overlaying this person down here in the corner? It just didn't make any sense, so I just don't understand. Maybe Zoom has some sort of patent on the grid, and they're technically trying to find a way around that grid, but I don't know. It's all dumb, Chris.
Well, Facebook already had video integration. I think they just took what they had and rigged it together to work. Because
steaming my brother.
Well, I was gonna say we have to use Facebook portals at work for video chat. Have you ever used a Facebook portal?
I know what they are. It's kind of like one of those cameras that use artificial intelligence to kind of follow you around around the room, and it has like smart zoom on it.
It's essentially what you could run on an iPad. If you use Facebook Messenger video, like one-on-one, that's what it is. But it's a dedicated device that costs as much as an iPad and only runs apps from Facebook. And I'm like, this is the junkiest thing I've ever used, and I hate it. So, I mean, I understand, like, they already had this built in, but, like, you could have done so much better so much sooner. But, yeah, whatever. That's a whole different story. DC Universe, so this is actually the CW DC Universe. I put this in before on the DC Universe on the CW, Mike.
Yeah, well, it's weird because you can't really call it the Arrowverse anymore, but I guess maybe you technically could just because everybody knows what you're saying.
Right, but I'm not even talking about the Flash or the Arrow coming about here, which is worse. So all the delayed series are still planning on debuting this fall, is my understanding. Okay. So anything that's delayed in production will still be out this fall. They'll just probably have a quick turnaround time on those. And anything that's, in the middle of a season or whatever that's got a weird thing, it's going to debut in the January of 2021, like Batwoman and Lois and Clark here, and then they'll have like a medium season break in May and then go through the summer. So I think we're going to see new TV schedules going forward, just to put that out there. But Superman and Lois and Batwoman is the big crossover for 2021, and I could not be less excited about hearing that out loud.
My wife has some insider knowledge on some of the Berlanti shows in general, and from what she's been hearing, apparently it's very contentious over on Batwoman. I guess it's very, very hard to work with. I always forget her name, Ruby Rose. I guess she's a little difficult to work with. Doesn't always show up on time.
I've heard this from other people too.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what the longevity of working with this actress is going to be moving forward, but who knows? There's been crappy people in Hollywood that have gotten work for a very, very long time, so maybe it'll just continue with that tradition. But yeah, the Superman and Lois thing, like I watched this crazy Nexus weird crossover thing that happened what was it, technically last year now, and Superman and Lois were the least interesting parts to me, so I don't want to watch a show all around them, and just my appetite for CW superhero shows are just waning and waning and waning and waning. And I can't imagine the comparisons once Marvel and Disney Plus puts their shows out there. I know the episode orders are going to be drastically different. You're talking about 8 episodes versus like 23 episodes in a year or 22 episodes. So obviously they got the numbers, but I mean, just the quality is just going to be astronomically different. And I just feel like it's going to be even harder for them to hold up in that environment.
Well, I think the problem is also like a lot of people were excited for Smallville coming back to the crossover, right? People love Smallville. People love Superman and Lois from Smallville. So if they were searching Superman and Lois and there was a surge, CW probably got the wrong inclination. We need to make another Superman and Lois show because all these people are searching Superman in CW. And this is why this show will probably fail because they want to do Smallville, but they don't want to do Smallville. So
yeah, I mean, I guess the benefit that this show has that I don't think any other televised or movie version of Superman has been able to do is, if I remember correctly, they have children. So I don't know if they flash forward and make the kids a little bit older so they can kind of actually be played by professional actors and maybe do some fun like baby superpower stuff at least, and then it's at least slightly original and they're not retreading on other land. So that would be, to me, think that that's the only saving grace moving forward with Superman and Lois.
Yeah, I don't know if they have kids or not, but you know they're gonna do
they,
something.
Yeah,
they have 2 kids. I think we said they had 2 kids. So I don't want to see Family of Supermen.
You're gonna, Chris.
Yeah, Wonder Woman 84 is currently booked, I think, for August. I believe we said, and the movie will be delayed to December if Christopher Nolan's Tenet movie moves away from its July release. So
I thought it was almost already guaranteed that Tenet wouldn't be coming out in July. I guess maybe what they're waiting to see if just 2020 is going to be viable at all for Tenet, or if he wants to move it to 2021.
Well, I think Christopher Nolan is pushing for the cinema experience, and wants it to come back. But I think again, I believe he's an English filmmaker, correct?
Oh God, I don't know if I've ever heard Christopher Nolan talk before.
He always wears nice clothes.
He wears nice clothes. He must be English.
Yeah, I'm like that's not something. So I'm gonna have to look. Maybe he's not. Maybe I'm out of my mind. Christopher Nolan.
Oh man, you hear that?
Nationality. Yeah.
You hear all that plastic clicking on Chris's end of the microphone.
He is a
That's
British American filmmaker.
There you go.
So he was born in London. So I think in England, the idea of film going and quarantine is opening up better because they've been able to handle things differently there, which would make sense. But I mean, if it's coming out in America, we're gonna need, like we said at the top of the show, a couple more months, a couple more weeks. We're gonna need to push that back a little bit. But I mean, if Tenet hits July, I don't know, maybe he re-releases it later. I don't know. I think he really wants this July release, but I don't think he's going to get it, man. I really think everything's going to get pushed back.
Yep, I totally agree.
And I think Wonder Woman 84 is going to get pushed back again.
Mm-hmm.
So, there it is. Have you ever read the Sandman graphic novels?
I have the first volume, the first trade, and I've read a few, I guess, quote unquote chapters or issues out of it, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, Preludes and Nocturnes, I think, is the first one. It's always great. I mean, I've read a lot of them. I didn't read a lot of the later ones because it's convoluted, but I know a friend of mine, listener to the show, Patrick Foster, big fan of Sandman, and he's got the big collected editions, the huge ones. I've seen them myself, and he's very excited that Audible is doing an audio drama reading of Sandman with some high-end cast here. Especially, I mean, first things first is James McAvoy as Morpheus Dream, the main character for this.
That's great.
I don't know who Justin Bond is, but their desired Kat Dennings will be Death.
Oh, okay.
Michael Sheen as Lucifer and Andy Serkis as Matthew the Raven.
Ooh, Andy Serkis has a great voice. I would imagine we're going to see a lot of this moving forward because celebrities need work, and all they need is a closet and a microphone, and they can get paid for being an audible drama for whatever they want to read. I'm curious, are they going to be reading? Is the story just going to be straight up the comic book, or is somebody else going in and kind of typing out descriptions for people to read?
So Neil Gaiman is actually going to be the voice of the narrator for this show.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
So he's very involved in it. What's not on here, I have Riz Ahmed will be the character, the Corinthian. And then Taron Egerton will be John Constantine. in this.
Oh, okay,
So
that's great.
We've got quite a bit of big names.
This is also good news for Netflix, because Netflix has the live action series that they're working on. So this will just drum up a little bit more support and put Sandman just kind of higher in the pop culture maybe than it is already.
Yeah.
So
this is
cool.
This is an easier adaptation to start from, and then be like, okay, let's make this into a TV show or a series. So I think that's really good. I got nothing else to add to this. I think it's great. If you haven't had a chance to read it, go find it. Maybe it's on DC Universe. It's a DC comic now, Vertigo. So maybe it's on DC Universe. But the last thing here is, did you ever watch the Percy Jackson movies?
I've heard Percy Jackson is kind of one of those things where the Percy Jackson fans just pretend the movies didn't exist, much like the Avatar: The Last Airbender fans pretend that the M. Night Shyamalan movie didn't exist. So I'm guessing if any more Percy Jackson stuff is happening, the fans are going to be very nervous.
Well, so apparently this one is very involved with the writer of the series.
That's a good start.
There are 5 books in Percy Jackson and the Olympian story, and there were 2 follow-ups. They each have 5 books each. But apparently the writer is heavily involved in making this faithful to the books. And a live-action show is in the works for Disney+. I think this is going to... is in relation to the news. What's that show that just came out, or is coming out this month? It was a movie, Artemis Fowl. That's what it was. That was the series. Yeah. I think it's the same audience for that. So that's very exciting. This is, again, previously a 2-movie series that apparently had really good actors, but the story just fell apart completely.
Yeah, I've heard that from what I remember, people were really mad that it diverged from the books a lot, and yeah. So this is great news for them. I mean, a series is always a great way to adapt a book, because a book has filled with lots of story, and a television show can adapt more of that story. I still think in our lifetimes, Chris, that we'll be seeing a Harry Potter streaming series, just because why not money? So it all starts with Percy Jackson, I guess.
Well, I mean, they're doing Lord of the Rings on Amazon. I mean, that's true. I never thought we'd see a series out of that at the end of it. I know it's not the same thing, but there's an opportunity there. And what's the other? Was it the Hunger Games has a prequel book coming out tomorrow, I believe.
Oh, it does. Oh, okay.
And they've already said, yeah, we're gonna do a movie of this. Which is
of course,
it's a prequel of what's his name, the evil leader. It's like him as a kid. Or younger, so it's not 5 years before the books. It's 50 years before the book or the movie. So there's that too.
All right,
prequel. I mean, everyone. Here's the thing: there's so much news out there. This is in production, or this is rumored to be. Yeah, because all you can do is hire writers right now. No one's making the movies; they're just planning them out. So you've got showrunners and writers all across the world who can work on this stuff. Storyboard artists, right? Concept artists, and that's really all we're doing right now. It's a lot of pre-production on these things.
Oh yeah,
that may or may not see the light of day.
Yeah, depending on the timeline, there could be so much crap coming out in 2 to 3 years because everything's in pre-production right now. But yeah, it's a crazy world out there, Chris, and we're just swimming through it.
We are just hanging out, man. Just bringing you guys all the news we can, even if most of the show was just what we did over the weekend. So that's it. Mike, that's our show for the week. That's all the notes I got. If people want to know where you're doing, what you're up to this week, and where can they find you at?
Well, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram and Twitter, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, Valdan. Thanks to everyone who sends me notes and stuff there, or on Instagram, Valdan87. You can head over there, or head over to Comic UI. If people want to know more about what we're doing, where they can listen to more of our shows, we got to do our thing this month, Mike. We're gonna pick one of those 2 movies and do our review. But where can people find our other episodes at?
Oh, all you got to do is visit superheroslate.com. That's the best place to find all the avenues we host our show and to get our awesome show notes. So if you want to see all the stuff that we talked about this week, we got awesome show notes up there to see everything that we talked about in a nice itemized bulleted fashion. I love our show notes. They're great. And you can also get our upcoming releases calendar, which is very helpful in this time since everything is moving. You might be like, oh yeah, wasn't a Black Widow movie supposed to be coming out? I'd like to know when that's coming out. Head on over to superheroslate.com. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you can get merch or swag, however you want to write it out.
They have
the show notes.
They have the masks now you can order off on TeePublic with our logo on them.
Oh my gosh, if you have a Superhero Slate mask, I wonder if I can add that to our catalog. But you can get that at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. We love it when you guys reach out. We like to know how you're surviving the quarantine. What are you watching? What are you reading? We love hearing from you. So please reach out. And if you want to be a super fan of the show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend. Share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week. Obviously, all you got to do is subscribe and just look at our release calendar. You can see that we've been here every week for like 5 years, so we're not going anywhere, folks.
Yeah, really. We've got. My concern is if celebrities start doing podcasts with better audio quality, we might be out of a job, Mike. But until then, I don't think they'll ever figure that out. So I think we're good to go. So
yeah, we're good. They got too much money, and they're thinking about how they look in the mirror.
Yeah, they're more worried about the craft, and we're more worried about the technology aspects. So.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.
All right, bye everybody.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah, TJ Miller's character and like Shaggy in my head are the same person. So like at the end, I'm like, oh, Scooby and Shaggy going and finding that Stan Lee is their dad. But I'm like, that's not it. That's
You're getting your worlds confused.